What up, dudes? It's Gaz, and welcome back to another Warframe video. So today we're covering the underrated ATOMOS INCARNON. This thing is actually very powerful on the steel path, with builds that can shred high-level enemies very, very quickly, and also a high-powered grenade launcher as good against enemies that are not as good against DOTs, like Acolytes. So yeah, we'll be covering this underrated Incarnon today. Before we do, make sure to sub this channel. We do daily Warframe video uploads, build videos, news videos, all that kind of stuff. You're in the right place for Warframe content. We'll be covering the Caliban Prime release update on Tuesday, in depth, because that's like the only thing happening in Warframe right now. And yeah, we'll have a ton more coverage on upcoming weapons, builds, and more on this channel. Alright, but let's talk about the ATOMOS Incarnon right now. This thing gets a pretty bad rep because it is on the same week as some of the best Incarnons in the game base. We've got the dual Icar Incarnon, the dual Toxicist Incarnon, and the Torrent Incarnon, all available the same rotation week. The ATOMOS is available. So the ATOMOS usually gets like the last selection after all those other Incarnons are selected. So what do you get if you want to go with this one that not as many people are using? Well, the primary beam on the ATOMOS is a chaining fire beam that requires headshots to build the Incarnon form. And once you get the Incarnon form, it's a grenade launcher that has pretty good crit. Very good against Acolytes, as these heat DOTs are not as good against Acolytes. Now, if you want to use some frames that can buff this thing a lot, I would recommend a frame like Dante, maybe even with Roar, because Dante has a status damage buff with their birds, and also Roar buffs status DOTs a lot too. It makes you really, really good at clearing out high-level enemies with multiple million damage heat procs. So let's go ahead and show how you could do a build like this in the Simulacrum, and also let's talk about the ATOMOS in general, because again, it is viewed as one of them. It's viewed as bad, but it's definitely more, it's like underrated, I'd say. So as far as the ATOMOS Incarnon, before we go into Incarnon upgraders, it just has base fire damage, and the Incarnon form has base blast damage. So as far as what we're doing here, we got the Incarnon perks as follows. First perk, Paladin Virtue. Increasing your base damage, but when you have over 700 maximum energy, you get increased base critical damage, and that will scale off of mods too. So very, very good Incarnon perk if you can get up to 700 energy. I know not every Warframe build wants to do that, but it is very powerful if you can get to it. If you don't want to go for that one, or you can't achieve that one, the other one's pretty good too. Hoplite Virtue, increasing your base damage, but also on Shield Break, increasing base damage by 30 for 8 seconds. So big base damage upgrade when your shield breaks. Unfortunately, that does not work on Overguard breaking. Maybe DE could update this one in the future. But yeah, on Overguard break would be great for our Dante build, although we're not really taking that much damage. Yeah, this one is definitely more of a, your shield getting a lot kind of thing. So I'd say stick with Paladin Virtue if you can get that much energy, which Dante can. And for the tier 3 perks, very important Beam Range perk right here from Moonrise Velocity, giving you more beam range. But if for some reason you don't want to go for that, which I definitely think you should go for this, you got Mercenary Chamber giving increased ammo capacity. I will say this thing does have ammo issues when you main it for a long mission, so that's an option for sure if you don't want to go for the range for some reason. And the last one, on reload from empty, increase base magazine size by 5, stack up to 7. Not worth it because you are wasting a lot of ammo with this thing in the first place. So it's got 350 ammo, 70 round magazine, 20 ammo for pickups. This thing can run out of ammo really easily. So I'd recommend you either go for range or ammo max. And I'd actually just recommend you go for range. And for the last tier perks here, I've got a crit upgrade with with Commodore's Fortune, but you've also got the options of Survivor's Edge giving hybrid stats, or Elemental Balance giving just flat status chance. This thing is not the best status chance, but don't worry. We're mainly going for crit anyway, so we'll be fine with what we got. Now, as far as what we have on the build, this is the no Riven version of the build I've been using, and it is a DOT-focused build. So we've got Scorch to make it where the heat procs are more likely to happen. We've got Magnetic Might to make it where you could debuff Overguard, make Overguard explode. Also gives us more crit damage. This thing is crit focused, so very good. Merciless Gunfight lets you get some more punch through. This could easily be taken off for something else if you wanted to. This is actually probably where your Riven would go if you had a Riven, but other options would be like a Fire Rate mod, maybe Augur Pact. I will say this thing does reload a lot, and it has an ammo issue, so going too crazy with the Fire Rate might be a bad idea in the long run. But yeah, as far as what we got here, we got crit mods, we got fire mods, and we got Pistol Elementals to give some status and damage and reload speed. Good we got that reload speed because we reload this thing a lot. Rudis Extension for even more beam range. We have quite a bit of beam range. 30-meter beam range on this thing. Now, I'm going to go ahead and show how this works in the Simulacrum here, and I'm not going to cast any buffs if I can avoid it. So, as far as what we're doing with the idea of this build, we're going to just fire debuff enemies, or fire proc enemies and debuff them with Magnetic, and they should die really easily. So there it is with no buffs at all. Pretty good stuff. Now, as you can see, it is a DOT-focused build, so once we get some DOTs on them, they're going to be really, really having a bad time. So let's go ahead and cast some buffs now. Cast Roar. We're going to cast Dante's Let's cast the birds, actually. The birds are going to status damage debuff enemies very heavily. So now as you see, like, they take big damage, like, near instantly, just from, like, tapping them. So 17 million damage with no Riven, just for, like, a little tap with the ATOMOS. Let's go ahead and use the Incarnon form now. There's the Incarnon form of the ATOMOS for you with Dante. So very good synergy with Dante. Any hard-hitting DOT is very good with Dante as his birds make those DOTs go pretty crazy. So as far as Dante's build here, we got maximum casting speed. You can go for a lot more damage here if you want to, but I just like to have a lot of casting speed on Dante. As far as the build on him, we've got this as follows. So corrosive projection and arcane precision. Arcane precision is a 300% pistol damage buff. Very good if you're maining a pistol. But the most important thing here is going to be the Dante birds, which I think they're called like Page Flight. Word? No, not word. Okay, Page Flight. A Dark Verse and Dark Light summons the Page Flight Peregrines to swoop on enemies, making them more vulnerable to status chance and status damage. So status chance and damage. So it is a 172% damage, status damage vulnerability and 172% status vulnerability. And that's pretty good. So if you were to jam even more power strength, that'd be 200% or more. This lets the ATOMOS be a monster with the chaining heat procs. Now, you might have seen there that I was not getting as much Incarnon ammo. Another way you could buff this thing's ammo and chaining capable is a spear gun. So there's two spear guns I'd recommend to you to try it with the ATOMOS. The one I like to use is the Aphentis. So I was just saying this thing has ammo issues. You throw the Aphentis down, you have less ammo issues. Your ammo gets, I guess it goes like 700 or something crazy like that. If you use the ATOMOS, as you can see right, or the Aphentis, right there. The Ballistari might buff reload speed. What else is it? It buffs reload speed, ammo pools, ammo max, reload speed, fire rate for the Aphentis buff. So this could help if you're manning this thing in like a longer mission. But the other one, the Scourge, can help you actually build your Incarnon meter a little bit better. Now, I would say I prefer the Aphentis to you. I recommend the Aphentis to you over the Scourge, because the Scourge is very inconsistent, but I can show you how this works as well. So, since the ATOMOS has chaining, it is both a blessing and a curse. It's good because it kills more enemies, but it also is kind of a curse because those enemies it's chaining to, it's not going for headshots, and to kill them and not give you Incarnon ammo. So the way the ATOMOS works, I'd recommend that you stay in primary form most of the time. Let's just go ahead and show how this works. So, I fire the ATOMOS right there, like there's no chaining to the head, obviously. I throw the Scourge. Now there should be chaining to the head. So I'm shooting at the body, and I'm getting Incarnon ammo charge from shooting at their body. So if you do want to use this thing to chain to nearby enemies with the Scourge, feel free to try it out. Again, I said it's not my favorite, but it's definitely one you could give a shot. I would just say the Aphentis one is better because this thing has ammo issues, and it reloads quite a bit in actual missions. So going over what you would actually use this thing for, I think this thing is good, specifically with Dante, and maybe a couple other frames, for the easy fire procs it can distribute. It's, you know, as far as my Riven, I've got a fire, heat damage and double crit Riven. This makes it a lot stronger. But the thing is that, yeah, it's a weapon that can chain and has a rocket launcher. So I like how it has a good versatility here. Good chaining beam for DOTs, good rocket launcher for Acolytes. Now, as far as, is it the weapon you should start maining after this? No, I would say it's definitely not. But I did want to show you guys how this works. It is definitely better than Synoid Gemmacore. We can at least say that. On my tier list, I feel like I placed this thing appropriately. It's a tier above the Synoid Gemmacore. It's not like you shouldn't have it. You should definitely have it if you want to have all the good Incarnons. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's the lower recommendation on the week of the Torred, the Dual Tox, and the Dual Ichor for a reason. This thing is not top tier. It's like upper mid-tier, like mid-ish tier, I guess I'd say. So, yeah, that's what the ATOMOS does. It's very good for Acolytes with the rocket launcher, very good for Demolus and Trash Ads with the Heat DOT, and I like it quite a bit. So, I'll see you guys in the next video. Appreciate all the support. Let me know what you use the ATOMOS for in the comments down below, and we can talk about that later. All right, guys, take it easy. See you next time. Peace.